Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, June 18th, and I believe VidCon is going on, and I wouldn't put it past YouTube to not announce anything simply because they're too busy pandering to people who go to VidCon, the big streamers, and, you know, all the small streamers be damned. I wouldn't put it past him, although I think that's probably a little unlikely too. Look at this. This is just the best event that has ever happened in Hearthstone. Like, 100 dust, 100 dust, 100 gold, 100 gold, 80 gold, 80 dust. Just great news. And it's not... I think I checked the end date of this. It's like gonna end in a week. So we're gonna have another 5-6 days of this. I don't have the exact dates, but nice turns of events. I guess inherently the only real problem, and this is a very personal problem for me alone, is the fact, okay, we still have this dragon deck. That's what I needed to find out so we can play Dragon's Quest. There's no extra entry to the arena, so unless I just wanted to go crazy and spend the money on arena entries, which in the past we can only base our actions based on how things went in the past, spending money on arena has never been as good as spending money on card packs, and we're really getting set up for that next expansion. On top of which, we're getting a lot of dust to help us fix a lot of things, find some missing cards that we would severely benefit from having. So I'm really liking this event. I wouldn't be in
I will fight with honor.
I wouldn't be upset if all daily quests going forward gave us some small amount of dust and an increased amount of gold, and just more and more people would be encouraged to continue playing this. I haven't heard any news stories saying people are getting in droves, getting bored with Hearthstone, but there definitely have been some stories of anecdotal stories of people just getting burned down on Hearthstone for as long as it's been going on, and for as greedy as Activision Blizzard has been with it.
Reporting for duty.
So one also wonders, I guess, if they learn any lessons here, will they take those to heart for other games like Overwatch, where I imagine, as somebody who doesn't play Overwatch, I wouldn't be surprised if there's also a kind of high amount of money that they want you to spend with the microtransactions in Overwatch, and they could potentially find a way to give you some gold and let you play free to play. We have a decent amount of news, and these quests are not going to take too long. There's kind of nothing more to say about E3, and until the Steam Summer Sale happens, there's nothing to say there. So all I need to really do today is burn through the news. I did manage to record 2 hours late last night of Borderlands 2, but honestly, it's been an entire week. I've just been dropping the ball like crazy. Maybe more and more this is just my new schedule. There is a slight fear that if a person is getting more and more tired, but gradually enough, from, say, in my case, I guess it would probably be sleep deprivation and insomnia. It could be that is just the new normal for me, and then that kind of puts my channel in a weird position. Like, if my channel over the course of a year eventually just boils down to just streaming on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, that still would be the vast amount of my video views, certainly, but it certainly stops. It invalidates having such a considerable amount of games on Steam. It invalidates all the retrospective series. It invalidates my efforts and desires to criticize and talk about games I've played before, and my efforts and desires to want to play games that have already, let's see,
the menagerie is for guests only.
that have come out and I haven't played before. So also kind of invalidates me playing new games. Like, if I did just Monday, Wednesday, Friday and I had enough funding to play just new games, there's a danger of even running out of energy there. And energy and time are not inherently the same thing. Like, it is also pretty possible that that I'm slowing down in the production of footage for other reasons. Getting back to Borderlands 2 after practically a week of playing is super easy, but then I kind of needed to exit out because I need to play Black Mirror 2, which that is going to be kind of a nightmare of a point-and-click game, but I've got to get it done. I really don't feel like I can reduce the production of my footage anymore and feel good about it. I never really felt good about it reducing the amount of footage I was making anyways, but I've already combined the kids time slot with the point and click time slot. I've already lost the 7 o'clock time slot, which was AAA games that were more mature. I have one time slot that's either a kids game or a point and click adventure game, one time slot where it's a AA single A game, and one time slot where it's a AAA game, and then there's Hearthstone that are just rebroadcasts of the live streams. And going down the direction to rebroadcast more, I don't think that works because there's nothing else I'm streaming. So yeah, I just need to put my nose to the grindstone and keep on going, and I think I'll do that. As I've mentioned many times before, Toys R Us is shutting down. The local Toys R Us near me, not super near me. I've been checking and going inside of it every 3 or 4 weeks, and I didn't do it often enough, so I totally boned it up as far as my desire to find Legos that would have been somewhere around 25, 30, 40% off. It'd been nice if Legos would have been 50% off or higher, but the truth of the matter is there's enough adult fans of Legos and kids fans of Legos that will take even a 20% discount, which is very hard to get on Legos since they are a monopoly. Yes, you could get Mega Bloks, yes, you could get several other off-brand Lego compatible bricks, but most Lego fans, particularly adult fans of Legos, don't want the quality of the off-brands.
I will fight with honor.
I'm very snobbish about it, and every Mega Block I've ever seen does have a inconsistency in color, inconsistency in the plastic strength. Just it does not quite work. So I'd hoped that I would have gotten to a Toys R Us and there would have been lots of Legos I could buy, sets that even if I didn't care about the sets themselves, I could then have a lot more bricks to build things from scratch. Unfortunately, I went in for what is now the last time I'll probably ever go into that Toys R Us. I don't see any reason why I'd go back, and with the exception of the portal level expansion and the Powerpuff Girls team pack and the Powerpuff Girls character pack, which between two packs that you have to purchase to get all three of the Powerpuff Girls for Lego Dimensions, that's pretty much all they had on Legos. I was able to find like 2 boxes of Duplo, and in the Duplo boxes you don't get much, so like there's 16 pieces or something in there in the Duplo sets. So I boned it up there. Board games, they actually did have quite a few board games, but none of them really interested me. I'm not a board game player, and there was a considerably larger amount of female-oriented products than male-oriented products, because I just imagine that it's easier for parents of male children to grab anything and the kids will be happy, where female children are generally pickier, and I just don't think female toys sell as well. There was considerable amount of Skylander stuff and Toys R Us exclusive things. There was a sign on the door of my Toys R Us that said they were also cleaning out a warehouse, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Toys R Us exclusive things were actually things that would have actually been shipped to multiple stores if it weren't for the fact that Toys R Us was shutting down. Surprisingly, some pretty expensive items, drones and radio controlled cars, a lot of summer stuff, and it would have been a considerably different haul if Toys R Us was shutting down in the winter. But a lot of stuff still kind of expensive and still kind of random, but a decent haul, and I'm done purchasing things there. And of course, the vast majority of what I'm purchasing, I'm giving away. Like almost every single thing, because let's face it, with the exception of Legos, I don't really play with toys. There was some, like one very specific Nintendo Amiibos that I think is from Animal Crossing, maybe, or Secret of Mana, but I had no real interest in it. There's a bunch of video games, but I don't buy console games. There was a decent number of movies, like DVDs and Blu-rays, that are kid-friendly. Maybe I could have bought some of those, but I decided not to, because that gets into more of a question of quality and what do they really want to see, or whether, like, if the movies, for instance, had like the Miyazaki Blu-rays of like all the Miyazaki movies from Disney's import from Lake Buena Vista, that would have been cool, but they wouldn't have those. But that had been, certainly, to try to relate this to my channel a little bit, that had been certainly something that was another time factor, time suck. Certainly, thinking about Toys R Us shutting down and trying to get some good deals was distracting me from recording. So one more distraction is now gone, and there's been several distractions lately, but inherently the distractions certainly are based on what I let distract myself, and it does build upon a lack of interest and a lack of steam to actually just do my job that doesn't pay, and just keep my butt in the seat and record footage. That's really all I need to focus on. I want to focus. I should focus on it for the rest of the year. It'd be nice with the current schedule. There is a chance that I could get 6 months to a year ahead on pre-recorded footage, and then we could bring back another time slot. But that's not really what's happening right now.
My magic will tear you apart.
Well, let's just hit this, and then hit this, and then end your turn. It's probably too early to play this on the third turn. Let's start getting into the video game news, because the news will be the problem. We're going to get all the daily quests done pretty quickly, and we'll probably just try to play on our main account and get up to as high of ranked as possible. Like, that's the thing that makes the most sense. Let's see. Gematsu has an article. A brand new Tales of series RPG is in development. Tales of being like Tales of Berkshire, Tales of Vesperia, the Tales of like Tales of Vesperia's 10th anniversary is, I think, getting re-released. So that's interesting to people who like the JRPG Tales of series. But oh darn it, they managed to kill my guy. Well, let's do this, and then do this, and then do this. We've got a game on Steam called OIK4. This is a game I could have closed. It's another basic physics puzzle with basic blocks, trying to roll balls and squares. It's a one-screen game. They do have some slightly colorful backgrounds that are like low-resolution gradients of different colors, but pretty much an expense, a waste of time. In a weird way, looking at this developer, there's 4 other OIK games, one of which is called OIK Memory, and they're all rated high. In fact, they have about 10 games that are rated positively from this developer, which seems strange. And until I see the reason why it's popular, the reason it's popular is because it has 1,800 Steam achievements, which Valve has now officially decided to start curbing these games that are just achievement grinders. One of the other things is that the achievements often have the images of numbers and letters that people use to spell out things on your badge profiles, and that's certainly something people do for some reason. OIK4, not worth really buying though. Even if the achievement people are happy with it, I wouldn't be surprised if all those achievement people are grinding for achievements for some incredibly ridiculous reason. Like, I don't know, maybe they're getting some kind of kickback somewhere. I don't even know how you do it. Moving on. Gematsu has an article, Robotics Notes Elliot and Memories Off, innocent Filet coming to Switch. So that's 2 visual novels, one called Robotic Semicolon Notes Elliot, or no, not Elliot, Elite. I should read correctly. And then the other visual novel is called Memories Off: Innocent Filet. Which that's quite the combination there of words.
This is my most valid target.
Let's see. Is there anything really more to say about these visual novels? Memories Off Innocent Filet launched on the PS4, PS Vita, and PC in Japan in March, and now they're coming to the Switch. Robotics Notes was first released on the PS3 and Xbox 360 in 2012. It was an enhanced version was released on the Vita in 2014, and now it's coming to the Switch. So,
Reporting for duty.
This is
quite the expansion as we continue down this path of visual novels on the Switch, further signaling that the Vita is now confirmed dead, and there is still a market to buy all of that stuff. Rock Paper Shotgun has a article that's StarCraft updates on the Korean League and Remastered by Brock Wilbur. I thought that said Ben Brode for a second. That'd be interesting if Ben Brode started writing articles about StarCraft, considering he worked until very recently for Activision Blizzard making Hearthstone. I think that would really be the snake eating their own tail. I don't think you can work for a video game. Well, you can definitely get away with this in video game journalism, but legitimately in the real world you shouldn't be allowed to work for a video game company and then become a video game journalist or even opinion piece article writer, because that's just weird. It's like how politicians then become lobbyists for the things that they were passing laws to regulate. It stinks of cronyism. It stinks of kickbacks. Let's see, is there anything in this article really to point out? As part of the ongoing 20-year celebration for Blizzard, there's a brand new tournament coming out, Korea StarCraft League, and it's the first time Blizzard has fully owned and operated the tournament. And let's see, let's go ahead and
To battle.
do this.
I don't need any of you.
Do that.
Reporting for duty.
There's also a developer update for StarCraft Remastered, so they're continuing to work on that. That's really 2 articles, probably from the same announcements, but they should have mixed those together more. Interesting. Rock Paper Shotgun has this article for the final episode of Steve Gaynor's Tone Control podcast has been released. Apparently this was a kickstarted podcast that only got people talking in, like, Steve Gaynor is the guy who worked on Tacoma and Gone Home, or one of the guys. It's a really weird the way this is being described. Who in the right mind would pay somebody to do to make a
Bow
podcast.
to your queen.
And over the course of 2 seasons, they made 28 episodes. I've streamed over 100 times, which have been broken into
By my
considerably more, probably three to close to 400 recordings of Hearthstone, and nobody's paid me for it. Not that I think anybody should have. Like, even other podcasters have made podcast episodes into hundreds and thousands for free. It seems really ridiculous to have to pay up front to hear somebody talk. Like, one of the odd things about free speech is that it really is not valuable speech usually. You're usually not paying somebody to list out their own opinions. You usually don't want to hear it. I could see them doing a podcast and asking for asking people to Patreon it and pay after the fact, after they delivered something. But to make a Kickstarter and say, I don't even know what you're arguing for. Who, like, buying a microphone? Was the Kickstarter for $100 to buy a microphone? Buying a computer? Like, what did you really need to do? Was it a video podcast? Did you need to buy a camera? So maybe then it gets knocked up to $200 or $300 if you were just to buy a webcam, or did you need a red cam in 8K for some reason to just show your own face? I've never heard of this podcast, and I guess I want to go listen to it and see what they have to say. There's definitely some danger I'm not going to like what I hear. Some of the people in Gone Home in Tacoma seem to be a little bit too SJW. I'm not going to try and dance around it for me, and I've gotten less and less tolerant of them. But I guess I'll go check that out. Although that is almost, like, in all realisticness, that's not really even news related to the video game industry. It's right on the level of promoting a band that some video game programmer was in. It's tangential at best. But I'm certainly talking way too much about this stuff. I need to learn to just move forward. We have a game on Steam called Sword of the Guardian. It is a side-scroller beat 'em up with swords in a Renaissance look. And I'm watching trailers of a boss battle. The graphics don't look as good as I would like them to. They're not terrible by far, but they have a heavy inked outline that makes them stand out from the background in a way I don't think I like. Let's see, the thing that would save a game like this is the price. It's $12.99. I doubt there's any reviews that are worth looking at. I need to stop scrolling down to reviews. Actually, this is wasting time. Like, there's 4 positive and 1 negative, and the negative's not in my language. The other thing that would save this is the developer. And see, this is the first game, so I'm not super feeling generous today. Like, I should play this first. Oops. Well, guess in the turn. So, but I'm gonna try.
Nice little
I'm gonna, despite what is basically just a whim and a mood, I'm going to try to. I'm gonna wishlist this and keep an eye on it, just in case, because this might be a hidden gem of a game. It might not. Let's see. Let's play this time. This time. And this time.
But we fight.
Here. Here. And I'll just in there. TechRaptor has one of these articles, 6 best presidents in gaming, which doesn't really have anything, like, there's really nothing to say or do about that, like, and why this out is being mentioned right now doesn't make a lot of sense. So let's just quickly go through it. The president, who's just called president from Duke Nukem Forever, Elizabeth Winters from Vanquish, John Henry Eden from Fallout 3, the boss from Saints Row 4, President Max from Sam & Max, and you in the Democracy series. Like, TechRaptor doing one of those articles that I often criticize PC Gamer for doing, that have no real relevancy or any, it's just a list, just clickbait. PC Gamer, speaking of PC Gamer, has an article, Code Vein is a surprisingly fun Souls-like with giant anime swords, which, okay, I guess it's alright, and happy to hear that PC Gamer is getting a little hyped for Code Vein. Certainly I've seen a lot already of Code Vein from Gamatsu, in particular, covering because of their more Japanese oriented coverage. There is still the question, like, the fact that Dark Souls was so popular in the West probably was heavily based on the fact that it didn't look anime. Once they put the anime back in, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a hashtag not my Dark Souls type response from some of the players. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's already like a decent number of Dark Souls players and fans who don't like Dark Souls 2 because they love Dark Souls 1, or don't like Dark Souls at all because they like Demon Souls. Like, I imagine you could just, the audience could be ever diminishing because of pickiness. Here we have a game on Steam called Blueprint World that is a one-screen game that I can't even really figure out what it is. It looks like you're trying to drag around gears on blueprints, but I don't even have a clue. Yeah, okay, it's spinning gears that have letters into them to make words, and I could kind of get into that. I don't know if that's an easier game or not. Let's see, I guess I'm gonna be generous again. I was gonna totally dismiss Blueprint World. It has 27 achievements. It's $1.79 with 10% off. I think, let's see, more than 100 unique levels. That's good to see. I think I'm gonna be a little bit more generous than truthfully I even feel like being. This is the first game from this developer, but I'm gonna keep an eye on it. Of course, putting things in the wishlist today, knowing that only in a few days the Steam Summer Sale happens, means I might very easily just take them out of the wishlist tomorrow. Speaking of Steam, somebody actually friended me on Steam, and that is an incredibly rare occurrence, despite my requests that people do it. I know there are certainly reasons around that because of the way Steam limits the number of friends you can have. friending some random person that you don't really know and who will immediately tell you he's never going to play games with you is a big ask. So, but I did get a friend request. I did accept it. I'd like to see more of that. I'd like it where every day I have to spend like 5 minutes. I wouldn't want to spend more than that accepting friend requests. There's probably also an easier way. I could probably just auto accept friend requests. But moving on, Steam has a game called Trigger. It says Trigger is a highly realistic, detailed third-person and first-person drift game that includes a first-person zombie mode. What? What in the world are you making? This game is...
What now?
Well, at least Trigger isn't a fake game where you're just... where people are trying to do memes and trigger people. But what a weird combination of things, and it doesn't look that good. It's $17.99 with no discount. It has like 1 review. It seems like maybe Steam is updating its review system. There's like 1 positive review that's suspicious.
I wonder.
There probably is somewhere in that, in the realm of possibility, there probably is a place where you could have a zombie shooting game where you get in a car for a small amount of time and drift and run into them. I know they've tried that in other games and it worked alright, but they haven't worked great. Borderlands 2 certainly has cars, and it tries to encourage you every now and then to run over enemies and these smaller creatures, but there's still definitely an issue of the cars not being capable of hitting all of the people and running them over, so sometimes you will just crash into a large bullymong, for example, is one of the creatures, which is a half gorilla, like a giant gorilla with 4 arms.
I will fight with honor.
And if you run into a big one, you just kind of bounce into it, which is not what you want to do. You don't want to bounce off of it. So, in one of the many improvements I would have liked to see in Borderlands 3 is, unless it has a shield or something, if it's a creature and it's run over by the cars, I do want it to actually be, I guess I have to play that now. That was a mistake. I want it to actually be an impenetrable tank that runs over everything easily and smoothly, and kills things. Usually you can't get a car anywhere near a boss anyway, so it's not an issue as far as a way of cheating, although maybe some speedrunners can find a way. Speaking of Trigger though, no, it's a decent looking asset flip type game, but it's not offering anything. Speaking of asset flips, PC Gamer has an article, PUBG clarifying misunderstandings about their use of store-bought assets. The quote here is, how many times do we gotta sculpt a cash register? Let's see. So during an interview with Jeff Keighley at E3, Brendan Green, aka PlayerUnknown, talked about accusations his game is an asset flip because it uses store-bought props. This kills me a little inside because I know we're not. Of course, the thing there is asset flip is just a general nebulous term. Like, we don't have any kind of legal or a concrete standard definition of an asset flip. If a game uses 50% store-bought assets in the game, is it an asset flip? If it uses 20%, is it an asset flip? If it uses 10%, I would suspect for PUBG, you are probably somewhere between 15 and maybe 30% store-bought assets, but then there's a lot of work and a lot of effort to mix those together and try to have a game that looks visually consistent. Inherently too, if you bought one asset that was just a pack of a lot of visually consistent things, so that there was a cash register, a lamp, a door, all in the same art style by the same artist, that's gonna look a lot better than if you bought each of those items separately from different artists. And it's gonna feel like it's gonna feel less like an asset flip if you buy everything from the same artist. Here later in the article it says they work with an artist called Karol, K-A-R-O-L, Mikis, M-I-K-I-S, in Russia, who does most of the vehicles. Most of our buildings are handmade by artists, and even foliage and stuff like that. Of course, we use some props from the marketplace. We had to make a map within 9 months, and you don't do that without using the work of other artists. But for the most part, most of our stuff is made hand, so I can see the comments, and I'm like, I want to kill you, which is probably not a quote you want to ever have quoted to yourself, is that you want to kill people criticizing their games, whether you're joking or not.
For justice.
It wouldn't be the first time also that a artist is getting paid to make things, and this is just a tinfoil hat speculation, but I wouldn't be surprised if it came out that Karol Mikis has actually purchased things from the marketplace and used them as a base, or just full on sold them. I don't know the person or any of his work, but it wouldn't be the first time an artist just resold an asset as their own, and that may not even be really illegal. Yes, and I know we're already done with the data quests here, but trying to have a 1 hour recording on each account so we can kind of grind upward. Let's see.
Let the hunt begin. I fight
think
with honor.
There's a bigger issue with PUBG, and it's not that it's an asset flip, it's that it's not a finished and polished game, and it just looks horrible in comparison to Fortnite, which had the benefit of having all of its graphics and assets already done for the original Fortnite, and then they just had to add in a
the light protects me.
Fortnite just benefited from adding a pretty easy battle royale mode to gameplay engine and graphics that already existed, where PUBG had to start from the beginning, or at least from now.
Let's move quickly.
However, that being said, there is also an argument that PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds has the wrong temperament to be the person in charge. Not Battlegrounds, but PlayerUnknown himself has the wrong temperament to be in charge. He's got, we see this a lot in the video game industry, but he's got kind of that Randy Pitchford attitude of maybe I'll say something or do something slightly misleading or slightly offensive, just not political when you're the person in charge and you're trying to sell your game to everybody. And so there's an issue certainly there, and PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds as a corporation, the corporation is not spending its time trying to find new, improved battlegrounds and find new players. Instead, it's spending its time complaining and suing Epic, which maybe there's a reason for a lawsuit there, but in the meantime they're not making a game, and PUBG is losing its audience pretty quickly. In contrast, there has been an announcement for an audience that I would love to see gained. Gematsu has an article. Arc System Works has announced a Kill La Kill video game. Kill La Kill is an anime. Was it made by Gainax? I believe, maybe? No, it was Studio Trigger, sorry. I'm not sure Gainax has made anything in decades. It's been a long time since I've been a major anime fan. The
battle.
Kill La Kill is the story of this school that it's like a private school that is being run by this one lady who's super rich, and she kind of has this group of followers, and so they are the bosses, they are the enemy, and you get this hoodlum student in there who is going to the school for her own reasons I don't really want to spoil, but basically she's on a revenge plot and she's trying to investigate who done it. And she keeps coming up against the student council with the lady who's the head of the student council being in charge of that. That's a pretty typical Japanese anime school type story. What's weird about Kill La Kill is that they are actually fighting, and the way they fight and they get superhuman powers is that they're wearing these special uniforms that have like magical properties to give people super strength and super power. And the main character has also a special outfit that gives her super strength and super power. Now, on the face of it, that's pretty much all there is to it. However, the weirdness about Kill La Kill is when you see the design of the main character's outfit, because she's not wearing much clothing at all. It is a pretty iconic outfit that she wears to fight in, where it is large bladed collars to either side of her neck, and a tiny bit of fabric just barely covering her nipples, and suspenders that are then holding the suspenders, the cloth downward, that are then attaching to the smallest skirt you could possibly design, and then black. The shirt is fully covered gloves, so that's part of it too. And let's see, her main weapon is a giant pair of scissors, but only half of a scissor, so like a giant red half piece of scissors is as big as she is. And the student council president, for the most part, she wears something rather similar in revealing. It is also, I suppose, worth mentioning that there is a third group that's eventually introduced called Nudist Beach, that is an actual organization that is promoting nudism and not wearing any clothing at all. These are done in Kill la Kill because they just don't care. Like, particularly in Japan, nudity is not a big deal. It's certainly undercut when the Kill la Kill anime came out. Who would watch it? And it's a shame because I watched it on Netflix, and then the story is actually really, really good. The writing is really, really good. The action is really, really good. But it's hard to convince somebody to watch it when there's just kind of this extreme amount of cheesecake going on. And in a weird way, it's all tease. It doesn't really show anything. It's not pornographic at all. But I don't know how you make a game out of this and it comes to the West. And as I'm looking at the article, I'm not sure if it is coming to the West. I wouldn't be surprised. It'll be launched on an unannounced platform in 2019. It's planning on being a fighting game, which makes sense. Like, clearly that would make sense. But yeah, I don't know if this one's coming to the West. This one might get imported. It might be worth an import. I definitely would recommend anyone from the age of 16 or older, as long as you're mature enough to not be extremely titillated by slight cheesecake on, well, not slight, a considerable amount of cheesecake on screen. There is a bending over backwards reason for the way the outfits are, but it for the most part is just that way because they wanted it to be that way. They wanted it to be eye-catching. It probably, particularly if this was a Western show, it probably would have benefited from some editor or director coming in and saying, no, let's not go this crazy, because if we go this crazy, we're not going to get enough of an audience to make people be interested in it. Kill la Kill was super popular among cosplaying, which probably got a lot of people in trouble for cosplaying it at some conventions. It was super popular in general for the few years that it was out, but it's been a while too, and I don't think you really can make a new like a continuation of the story or anything. You could try, certainly, but the way it wrapped up was a little too finished. So yeah, I'd recommend it may still be on Netflix. Check it out. I had a lot more fun watching it than I thought I was. Let's see. Moving on, Gematsu has an article. Inazuma 11 Aries no longer playable at the World Hobby Fair Summer 2018. So apparently the game that's not out yet, Inazuma 11, which is a soccer anime, since, you know, soccer is real big right now. Apparently the World Cup is happening. I think I finally figured that out. I think that would certainly explain a lot of things.
Die, mage.
Everything's gonna die.
That's not a valid target.
Well, then let's just do it. But apparently, instead of a hands-on event, it's just going to be a stage event. Inazuma 11 will be available for the PS4, Switch, iOS, and Android when it launches. Apparently, this article doesn't know where it launches. I don't know, maybe I would be happier playing a game that is more of a story-based game around kids working towards not the World Cup of soccer and professional adult levels, but working towards like a regional soccer thing.
Job's done.
Let's see. Moving on, Gematsu has Black Clover Quartet Nights. PS4's closed beta is set for July 15th through July 17th. This is a North America times have yet to be announced. Europe times are listed and Japan times are listed. I'm not sure what the Black Clover game is, nor am I really sure how much of a fandom in some of the regions are. I know it's an anime-based game, but to me it looks like... Let's see, it says it features 10 playable characters and 4v4 online team battles. So it's, I guess, a fighting game in some sort. Moving on. Let's see. There's more details for another game in the Altair series, I believe it is. Nelki and the Legendary Alchemists, Altair of a New Land, has first details and screenshots, which the series seems to be coming fast and furious. It's something I'd never even heard of this series, and now it's coming out really quickly with several games. And it's not just visual novels. Although there is a decent number of conversation going on here, I'm seeing screenshots of some kind of city building mechanic, or at least a building mechanic of some sort. Otherwise, I'm not 100% sure what the story is. The characters all look fine.
I dream
Fantasy anime characters. Slight tendency here in the characterizations for older looking characters and not the super young moe characters, which I think Japan is finally starting to move away from into the next fad. Moving on, PC Gamer has an article. OMDO is what happens when you turn Doom into a magic eye puzzle. So it's Doom mixed around OMDO, and apparently what it does is it just messes with the graphics in a way. So, like, in a crazy way. Like, I don't know if like, it's an itch.io mod to Doom, but I don't see how you could really play the game this way. It's like, I'm not seeing anything on initial viewing. And inherently, like, what is the benefit of making a video game mod that makes it more difficult for your eyes to recognize what you're looking at, particularly when you're talking about a first-person shooter like Doom? And sure, Doom is the original first-person shooter. It's not a hyper-fast first-person shooter like Counter-Strike Go or anything, but that doesn't really matter. It's still a pretty bad experience. We already talked about that game. I'm still struggling with duplicate tabs, which sucks, certainly. But then that, I guess, means also that we are done with a little bit more of the news than I thought. So, it's been an hour, It's been a little bit of a slow start. I'm still not sure how we speed this process out. I almost want, if I had like a partner, I almost want if there was somebody else next to me that could spout off news as I'm playing, and we could take turns going between stories. That's often what you see in main productions, whether you're watching a news station like CNN, there's two presenters on the table, and a lot of that really comes down to, is one of them going to have a coughing fit, is one of them going to need to catch their breath. I've managed pretty well without that, but yeah, it probably would work a little bit better if two people were on mic covering these news, but I don't know if that really speeds anything up too much, because I'm always going to feel the need to inject my own opinions into the game. That's where I'm into the news, and that's like my own editorialization and my own interpretation of things, and that's where I'm putting my personality. So if I just brought in somebody else, I'd be putting in somebody else's personality, and that doesn't really make sense, nor do I think it really speeds it up. So yeah, I'm still struggling to try to get through news quicker, but I'm also struggling to see where I can make any more edits. Anyways, that's it for this recording. Stay tuned if you're watching live. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description. And if you want to support me even further, friend me on Steam and gift me a game or a gift card. Steam Summer is coming up. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.
Where have your journeys taken you?
Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, June 18th, I believe. Let's see, yeah, 18th. And we are on the European account. So apparently...
Put this on! It's a chronomic inhibitor! I promise you won't get sucked into negatime! Probably.
So we're getting more of these daily quests that are working really well, and we're getting little bits of dialogue from Time Tinkerer. It's kind of interesting how they probably did have somebody just record the Time Tinkerer's voice for an hour, and they're stretching it across a couple weeks of content, which is fine. In the end, this dust is super cool. I'm really loving it, and I'm rather happy with it. Also, the quests are super easy, so even though I was on my European account playing Murloc Paladin, since these are all HS Replay decks that they're telling me these are good decks to play, I'm gonna stick with Murloc Paladin, and pretty quickly I'll have all the daily quests done. Mostly I just need to rush through the news today, and then in my usual futile attempt to try to record something else at the end of today. I don't know. Like, there's an argument certainly to give up spending any time on the European and Asian account, but then I'm still covering the news, so I don't know how I reduce the amount of news I cover unless I get rid of what's on Steam and stop covering every game that comes out, and I kind of don't want to do that because I think that's a little bit unique. Moving on though, Gametsu has an article, survival action game Tokyo Ghoul Recall to exist has been announced for the PS4. I tried to get into the Tokyo Ghoul anime. It looks visually interesting, certainly, but I occasionally when I try and get into things, I'll get bored or just be bored at the beginning of the series, and I'll skip to the end, and yeah, just did not find anything that I liked there. It's definitely a case if I really didn't give it a fair shake. I would not disagree with that at all, but yeah, I just couldn't get into it, which is often the problem, and it's why I don't call myself an anime fan anymore, is because it's so many of the series that I would have had time and desire to watch in the old days when I was younger just aren't the case anymore. Tokyo Ghoul Recall to Exist comes out this winter in Japan. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't make it to the West, even though it is a moderately popular anime. Let's see. Let's play this. In the turn, we've got a game on Steam called Multi-Ball. It's a low graphic looking, simple graphics game. It looks like the physics on this game might actually be better than what you would expect, but it just is so ugly looking. I don't see any reason why you'd want to buy it. It's 40% off for 59 cents. It's one of these. What is going on with my mouse? Like, my mouse is not wanting to work at all today. So I'm gonna turn it off. I think the batteries might be dying again. I don't inherently just keep a mouse cursor. Oops. Batteries are dead, aren't they? Let's see. What remote of many remotes that I have sitting around would have the right kind of batteries in them, because most of them have AAAs. Like, alright. 1 second. I'm gonna have to reach over and grab another remote and seal batteries out of it. We're doing this live, people. Doing it live.
Quickly.
You are not welcome here.
Okay, I'm gonna have to leave the room, so I'll be back in a moment to get batteries.
I must move quickly.
Okay, I'm back. Well, somebody got a free victory there. That sucked. Batteries on. I guess maybe that's why sometimes I get some free victories too, is that people's remotes just die. And see, inherently, as a tip to any YouTuber out there, you shouldn't be using a battery-operated keyboard and mouse. It's not a good system for this very reason. I ran into many issues where I would use the Xbox 360 controller on batteries and the PC adapter to receive that signal, and many times the batteries would die. Particularly on the Xbox 360 controller, they die pretty quick. To the point that it makes a lot more sense to have rechargeable batteries in it of some sort. But, like,
Well met.
practically speaking, because my computer is far away from me, which is a good way, it's a good system to get the noise away from my computer and not into my microphone. So I have my computer about 10 feet away from the microphone and the keyboard and mouse, which are wireless, and the the controller. Also, there is a basically pillow fort of sorts, a wall I built, not using a spare dog pen, that built a wall, and then I put blankets over the wall to just soundproof and insulate it, so the computer's noise that it does make tends to go up towards the ceiling and get bounced off the ceiling more than come directly into the microphone. Also, my microphone's not designed to really pick up sound around it. It's supposed to only pick up sound that is right in front of it, so that also helps. However, all of that being said, there are certainly times where noise from a computer does get loud enough that it seems like it should be on the recording or I can hear it. I also have a noise filter in OBS enabled to just a noise gate is what it's called, to not record things below a certain loudness, to help eliminate that. In the end, I do a lot to make the audio sound good, and I'm not sure it is necessary or really appreciated. I'm sure there might be a few people out there that appreciate it, but I'm sure a lot of people don't recognize it. That being said, I have certainly seen some awful audio on some YouTube videos, but I don't have time to talk about that. Let's move on. Next game we have on Steam is called Sweet Girl Adventure from Fat Cat Games. That seems like a company I've heard of before. Sadly, I like kind of the art style here, but I'm not seeing anything that actually tells me if this is anything more than a single screen game, or if this is some kind of infinite runner. It seems like it's a one-screen game where you're playing as this red-headed girl, and bombs are falling from the sky and cakes are falling from the sky a lot slower, and
Your magic shall not save
she's avoiding the bombs and collecting the cakes, and once you collect some amount of cakes, you win that level. So it's a rather basic concept. Let's see. Kill this one. In return. If it weren't for the fact, as I scroll down here, that this game had 4,599 achievements for 30% off for 69 cents, this game looks slightly interesting. But in the description it says it has only 9 levels, and while the graphics look good for one screen, that's not that hard to do. And clearly this is just a developer making an achievement game. And apparently Fat Cat Games hasn't made anything else, because according to Steam at least, it's the first game they've ever developed. So we will eventually get to a story where Steam has put in massive curves to these achievement games, which almost makes me question whether they've actually secretly fixed fake games and troll games. I haven't seen a lot of troll games in the past couple days. So is there somebody now finally actually looking at games before they get a page or anything on Steam? Because that is inherently been the problem, is that you put in your Steam Direct filing, and it seems like at least at the beginning it becomes a 100% automated process where the name, the thumbnail, the screenshots, the descriptions of the games, the achievements of the games are just not getting looked at it by anybody at Valve. Now it seems like maybe they've fixed that, and now they're coming after achievement games, which is a little weird. It's definitely strange, because it's not like the achievements ever did anything, but they've still gotten out of hand in some way. Like, I imagine this is what a lot of parents felt like when kids were talking about Pokemon non-stop for weeks on end when Pokemon originally came out. And certainly I was part of the problem on the achievements. I had over a 70,000 gamer score on my Xbox 360 profile, and I still do if I can remember to log in to it and look at it. But I was hyper obsessed with achievements when they first came out for the first 3 or 4 years, and then eventually I burned out on them and they became ridiculous. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Crimson Light. It's a RPG with indie gore, female protagonist. It's not widescreen and it looks like an RPG game. It's free, so I guess the price is right. I'm not going to scroll down to reviews anymore. That is the #1 thing that is obvious to me. There's another game that they have called Crimson Shift that's $4.99, and it seems almost like it's the exact same game, or it's a series in the same form. But yeah, neither one of those look really interesting. Let's see. The next game we have on Steam is called Factory of Monsters, and it's under a category of nudity games. I didn't even know that was a category on Steam. It's tagged as nudity, sexual content, action RPG, indie, and gore. We haven't seen a ton of these on Steam lately either. This is an English simplified Chinese game. It looks, I don't even know if you call this an asset flip as much as just literally taking a character and cutting it out of one game and putting it in backgrounds that don't match. Like, the character's legs don't move when she walks, she just slides on the ground. She has, I'd say, less than 24 poses. Everything is just like clip art cut and pasted together.
For justice.
Let's take a victory. I And since this is like a side-scrolling 2D, flat 2D shooter game, I don't know where this comes in to really be called an action game. I really don't know where the nudity or sexual content comes in, because I'm not seeing any conversations, I'm not seeing any other characters. Like, I'm not getting it at all. I am getting all the daily quests done quite easily. Thank goodness for that. Yeah. I don't even know. This might be one of those weird instances where there actually isn't any nudity in a game that's promising nudity. And certainly it's not going to save this game. And this is the first game from this developer. And like, they're not going to give you a bunch of achievements. There's no achievements for the game. They're not trying for trading cards. Nobody's even trying for trading cards anymore because Valve has cracked down on that pretty successfully. So, yeah. It seems like there's a few different forces on Steam that are trying to sell bad games a few different ways for a quick buck. And as much as Steam has said that they're a non-censorship platform, they seem to be kind of contradictory, more than willing, and definitely stepping up efforts to have a level of combating manipulations of their algorithm and allowing people to put garbage on Steam and it manipulate the algorithm to get more sales. Which, in a weird way, this is what YouTube needed to have done years ago, is stop the people who are uploading music and video they don't own, and stop the people who are doing ElsaGate content, and stop the terrorist propaganda videos that allegedly are on YouTube. I haven't ever seen any of them. If they had put some limitations but still let that stuff be on YouTube, and then it turns out because it stopped being profitable, people stopped making it, that would have been a much better system than whatever YouTube is doing now, because YouTube's not really doing much other than just screwing up left and right. I don't have time to go into a rant against YouTube though, so let's move on. Eurogamer has an article, How a Troubled Game Starring Bruce Willis Led to a Skateboarding Revolution, Skate or Die. In the late 90s, Activision wasn't the powerhouse it is now. Bobby Kodak's baby. Let's see if we can skip a lot of this. Apocalypse was the game starring Bruce Willis. It was a third-person action game which took advantage of the new analog control systems for PlayStation, which certainly that was a revolution to have analog controls. I should put that over there. Let's see. And it featured a star turn from Bruce Willis. The platforming aspects were a little bit of hit and miss, and the voice work was already captured before Neversoft came on board. It was weak and lacked impact. So I don't think this game, Apocalypse, actually came out. The vision for Apocalypse was to be a buddy game where you would play and Bruce Willis would be your AI partner, says a level designer on Apocalypse. Let's see. Let's see, skipping down to the next article, it says Apocalypse was ahead of its time. It probably literally was, in the sense that it was probably impossible to actually make the game run and do what they wanted. There were some hugely ambitious games in previous generations that wanted to do things. And usually it was from developers who had not done things even close to that before. So, I mean, even in the story, you're having a third-person shooter with a buddy AI of Bruce Willis being programmed, and then that pivoting in some way to be a skate or die game. Like, that tells me that the shooting engine, the gameplay mechanics there didn't work, and the only thing that got made was some levels and some art assets that then got chopped up. Let's see. Well, no, apparently Apocalypse came out, according to this paragraph. It's amazing that there would be a game, and I had just never heard of it, but I imagine there's probably hundreds of thousands of games I've never heard of. It says Apocalypse went on to do reasonably well enough for Activision to give Neversoft another shot with a different project. Activision, the quote here is, Activision saw us as very reliable as we saved their bacon with Apocalypse. Let's see. They wanted to invest money into a franchise, and so they picked us, as another quote. And we saw this as an opportunity for Neversoft to prove itself, and the studio got to work on a demo. Interesting. Alright, so that's an interesting article, and you probably would get more detail instead of me just skimming it if you want to read that on Your Gamer. I guess this is the post E3 period where just retrospective and history articles, things that don't have anything really to do with what's going on right now, can still be written about. Like, and that's not inherently a bad thing. It sometimes doesn't make a lot of sense for people to write articles when other things are happening. But sometimes it's perfectly fine to remind people of their past, I suppose. Or teach them about their past if they didn't know in the first place. Let's see. Here's another Your Gamer article. Still got your old 1 megabyte Amiga? A new game has come out. Amaze thing. It's a game called Worthy. W-O-R-T-H-Y.
I wonder.
And it's selling for £9 to £23 plus £6 shipping. That's pretty expensive for what is a 1 megabyte Amiga game. However, looking at the trailer, it doesn't look terrible. It's right up there with like Sonic level graphics. It's a top-down maze runner, kind of like Pac-Man, but you can swing a sword and kill things, and yeah, there's a lot of games like these in the old day, top-down games that had the same generic ideas.
You win.
There we go. I'm not sure if there really is a reason or rhyme to release or talk about a release of what is effectively a retro, just funny thing to do. Like, the vast majority of video game players are not going to play Worthy or buy Worthy because they're not going to have an Amiga or have any interest in playing it. I have certainly been complaining in the past couple of weeks of Game Boy looking games coming out on Steam. I would, however, argue that Worthy, being in color and looking pretty good, probably should just come out to Steam and say, look, here's the emulated version. here's it playing on a modern PC with an emulator, so more people can play it and try it out. Moving on, Gematsu has a the company Furu has announced an action RPG called Crystar for the PS4. It's yeah, that's.
Move quickly.
Do I have anything else here to know? It's an action RPG from a new game. It's coming to the PS4, probably in Japan on October 18th. Probably in Japan only. We'll get some more information. That was a preemptive announcement for an announcement more than anything else. Gamasutra has an article how Avalanche and id are working together to build a new Rage. This might be an article worth reading, but frankly, this is kind of the wrong time to read an article like this. I would like Rage to have been out and popular and seen by people first before I care about how the two companies are working together to make a new Rage. If anything, now might be a good time to talk about how the Mad Max game was developed and how good that was, considering that was the previous game from Avalanche Software. So hype your old game while people are getting hyped for the new game. There is this slightly odd cutoff they seem to do as far as advertising games, just because the first 6 months of sales is all that people care about, when realistically this would be a great time to try and get old people to play Mad Max. I have Mad Max on my account. I want to play that. It would be a great time to play it if I just had time. Next we have a game on Steam called Nightstar Alliance. It seems to be a space shooter game. Might be in VR? Yes. Yeah. It looks alright. Certainly. It's early access for $9.99. And okay, yeah. Like, more and more I'm having to lower my expectations on VR games. So if it looks good and you take it from the perspective that people that have VR already know they're kind of getting ripped off and paying a premium, then yeah, Nightstar Alliance seems like it might catch your attention. It's the first game from this developer. Maybe I should stop doing that too. That would save some things. Next game, save some time. Next game on Steam is called Last Alive. It says it's a simulation. It seems like it is a one-screen game where on the left you're standing in the same place shooting a gun. On the right there's an endless horde of zombies. Everything is done in shadow, which is definitely pretty, but this really is just a one-screen game that I wouldn't be surprised has a bunch of achievements. No, it doesn't have any. So 20% off for $4.79. It's asking for a lot, but I think I'll be generous because it is rather pretty, but it is almost certainly like a cell phone port. The developer, I guess I still need to look, has made a lot of games and none of them have been rated. And the only one that has been rated negatively. So yeah, I think that's going to be the way, the killer point here is that we're going to, yeah, I can't justify purchasing that at this point. Also, sadly, I'm gonna now have to, after having to run out and get batteries, I'm gonna also have to take a break. So and run to the bathroom for probably quite a while. So I am just all messed up. There's a game on Steam called Road Patrol Truck. It looks like an asset flip. It has 9 achievements, 40% off for $4.19. It doesn't look very good. And of course, since I need to run to the bathroom, I'm gonna be very uninterested in anything I look at, including playing this game. So
The victory
I'm just gonna have to concede right there.
Well played.
So, apologies. The screen is just going to have to stay here for a while. So, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry for that. Let's keep on going forward. Man, today is just a disaster of a recording. Man, I don't know why my batteries still don't feel like they're... My mouse still doesn't feel like it's moving enough.
The hunt begin. I will fight with honor.
Like, that just makes it worse. That would really suck if my mouse is really broken, but I don't think it is. Just gotta get back into the flow of using it. Alright, moving on. So I've been promising this story for a while now, and put quite a bit of delay that I didn't intend to in front of it. Gamer Sutra has an article. Valve introduces limits for new games to prevent fake ones from gaming Steam. Valve has moved to place a few small restrictions on new games and published new games published to the Steam store, something the team hopes, I assume is what they meant to write, will cut back on fake games. Although the definition of fake games, according to Valve, compared to other people, seems to be pretty random and pretty nebulous too. Like, fake games, in my mind, didn't include or mean games that were achievement games, but also had some gameplay to it.
The first wish is free.
Like, that's just not what I thought they meant when they were saying fake game. If it is what they meant, then it certainly didn't make it make sense. A post details the tweak shared to Steamworks, Valve's developers-only community, but later was shared publicly by a user on Reddit. Specifically, Valve has limited how achievements and coupons work for games that haven't reached the same confidence metric that is used for a previous change limiting how Steam trading cards work. So it's the same system that has already existed for a decent amount of time. We've seen some small developers go, oh, I can't do trading cards until I get a certain number of sales. Yeah, and there's certainly, it has to be like real sales, not keys that are sold from third-party sites, from what I understand, or sales directly from Valve. So now they're just limiting two things. One was achievements, which we've seen certainly some achievement games out there, but also there's some form of manipulation that seems to be capable of being done because of coupons. For instance, I recently got a coupon for a game called Fairy Solitaire, 75% off for all the people who own the game Regency Solitaire, which is strange because those two games aren't made by the same people nor published by the same people, as best as I can tell. So it seems like there might be some way where you could give coupons to try to get people to buy games that generally they wouldn't. Let's see. Going forward, games that don't meet the undefined confidence metric will have a limit of 100 achievements, which is still way more than most games ever even use, because a lot of people don't care one bit about achievements. Let's see. Try this, I guess. Do this. And I guess I'll do this one. And then really don't have anything else I can do. They'll be limited to 100 achievements. Though those achievements won't contribute to your Steam users' global achievement count and will not appeal appear on public profiles. So public profiles, I guess in this sense, probably means it won't appear to anybody other than the person who's logged into the game. So there is now 2 tiers of achievements. Achievements that are for you and yourself, which should have always been the case and the only case, and that there are achievements that you can actually show off. And it's slightly questionable how all of that is going to get shown and displayed and explained to the players on Steam. Additionally, titles affected by the new restriction won't contribute to the account's game library count. So your games collector achievement for having 500 games on Steam, or maybe 1,000. I'm slightly over 900, and there was a point in the past couple of weeks where it seemed like I'd get a game and then the account wouldn't go up. So I'm wondering if maybe some retroactive actions have been taken on a case-by-case basis to have some games not count towards that 900 total games. Although the 900 number I'm seeing shouldn't be manipulated, because I actually do need to know how many games I actually own, and if I actually have 1,000 games that I can install but it says I have 900, that doesn't help anybody. The number that should be manipulated is in public profiles.
Job's done.
Let's see. So it won't also be shown in the game collector showcase and Stu profiles, and they won't be eligible for coupons. So I guess the new games aren't eligible for coupons, so that stops a bad business process right in its tracks of coming out with a bad game and then handing out to specific people that you know coupons for 90% off that bad game. So people that are writing reviews can say they purchased the game and that it's really good, but they had to pay a lot less than what normal people would make. And it also means, to build up that confidence metric, there is now a level of quality determined by the purchasers of games on Steam as to whether a game is good or not. Like, if people don't buy your game at close to full price or just a general sale, I mean, you could still do sales, you just can't give coupons out. If people aren't willing to buy your game, your confidence metric never goes up, and you don't get to add achievements or trading cards. However, there is a problem here, because let's say you do make a good game, and it is a game that wanted to have achievements and it made sense. There now has to be some kind of metric where when that game crosses the line to being allowed to have achievements, those achievements unlock. But I guess they've already touched upon that, because you already have 100 achievements. No game should have more than 100 achievements. That's ridiculous in the first place. Like, in general, I want to reread this and say, are they limiting everybody to 100 achievements? Because that would probably be better. No, games that don't meet the confidence metric will have a limit of 100 achievements. So you have 100 achievements that you can put in your game from day one, and that way people can play the game and get those achievements. And once you hit that confidence meter, I assume those 100 achievements could be turned into 5,000 achievements if you wanted to, but you would have to put in your own system to hand out a bunch of achievements to the players, and that's definitely a longer con and gonna take a lot more work. than what's happening now.
Is someone injured?
The post notes on Steamworks. The post on Steamworks notes that the changes are happening specifically to target fake games that exist solely to inflate achievement and game counts on public Steam profiles. While the company says that an insignificant number of users were actually grabbing these illegitimate titles and gaming the system, the games in question still mess with the Steam Store's algorithm and confuse well-meaning users, thus have to go. Because it's effectively like slightly false advertising. Like, if a game has a lot of people reviewing it high because of the fact that it has a lot of achievements and not because it's a good game that's actually fun to play, or if the game has a lot of units sold and some person could see that through like SteamDB, but the only reason it has a high number of units sold is because of the high amount of achievements. This is going forward though, so all of the fake games and things on Steam, I imagine at best case scenario, more than likely they're just going to be there forever. They've just been grandfathered in, but best case scenario, they're going to case by case, when a game gets flagged, look at it, look at the games, and try to do something different there. Inherently, I imagine if you were a creator of an achievement games on Steam, you would just want to not really do anything to irritate Valve and just hope your games can stay there and continue to get sales, because your games now are probably more valuable than ever before, since there's no new amount of games like that will be available. So the worst case scenario for somebody making these fake games is to catch the attention of Valve and have them ban or kick all of those games. And I don't think Valve is interested in proactively sorting through its entire marketplace just to do that. Let's see. Games that don't meet the confidence metric will be branded with a quote "Steam is learning about this game" label right under single player, multiplayer, those little labels. Some of them can be seen now. Let's see if this article mentions the one game that already has it. And when you mouse over it, it informs would-be players that the game's features will be restricted until more players have interacted with it.
Uther versus Rexa.
Inherently, though, I think
with honor.
there's still some secret metrics here you can manipulate. If you can get 1,000 people to play your game, or just leave it running for 10 or 20 hours, that's probably reaching what they want. You probably can't have one person have your game run for 1,000 hours and that be the equivalent. I bet there's definitely a cutoff. It very possibly is the 2-hour mark, so as soon as somebody has bought a game and let it run for 2 hours so they don't get that instant refund, that is probably one tick mark towards being a trusted game, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's 1,000. It might be smaller, it might be 500, it might be 300 people. A lot of these games don't seem like they have more than 20 people play on Steam, and when you start to look at games that have such small numbers, it's not surprising Valve doesn't want them taking up a bunch of bandwidth and taking a bunch of their time up. Let's move on. Gamasutra has an article. It says analysts 66% of console players still prefer physical games over digital. I certainly would agree with that. Like, if I wasn't a PC gamer, I would definitely be buying physical content for the most part. Like, when I was playing on the Xbox 360, I bought a lot of games used from GameStop, and I still very much appreciate that the fact that I did do that, because I still have those games, and those games theoretically will still play, whereas a lot of digital games have at least the perception of potentially not being playable at some point in the future, or not even now. But again, a lot of the games I play are single-player story experiences that have little to no online content. If you're playing something like Overwatch or Hearthstone, for example, it might as well be an online download, because as soon as the servers go down, you can't play it anyways. There's a graph here in this article. It says, well, the colors are horrible. They didn't use enough different tones of colors. So there is a red bar that's supposed to represent 28% that's right next to another red bar that's supposed to represent 6%. Apparently somebody doesn't know how to use Photoshop. Not Photoshop, but PowerPoint.
Reporting for duty.
Anyways, it says, best as I can understand this, 28% buy games new. 18% of people, 18% of your spending goes to new, to downloadable content. 28% goes to new games. Then 16% goes to used games, and then 14% of your spending is going to online subscriptions. That number is ridiculously high. Wow. If you're spending 14%, but I guess maybe you are. Even if you're just paying the $60 for an Xbox Live pass, that's the equivalent of one game, and it's not typical for people to buy 20 games in a year. So that is surprising realization. 12% of spending is going to gaming apps on mobile devices, which that sucks. 6% is going to rental or rental subscriptions, and then 6% is going to others, magazines, peripherals, etc., according to that horrible chart. Console gamers that prefer physical spend, according to another chart, $23 a month on average. Age 13 plus console gamers, where if they prefer digital, they spend $15. So there is some savings in digital, or either that or you're just not buying as much. No guarantee it actually is savings. Because of that. However, PC gamers are spending $38 a month if they prefer the physical, and they are spending $15 a month if they prefer digital. Honestly, I think it's a bit of a misnomer to say you prefer digital. I think at best you accept digital. I would still pretty much prefer digital. If I had 900 DVDs on a shelf somewhere for the 900 games I had on Steam, I'd be cool with that. I'd be like, alright. That probably at some point might make some sense.
Your magic shall not save
you. It would look cool at least.
For justice.
The weekly gaming hours for console gamers is, according to this chart, 5.0 hours, so 5 hours for people who prefer physical, versus console gamers spending 6.4 hours for people who prefer digital. So I guess if you prefer digital, you might have an hour and nearly an hour and a half extra of time that you can play instead of going to a store and purchasing it. That's a odd correlation that's probably not true, and then there is some that is going against the worst case scenario where people who have digital have to install updates, but I guess even people that get it physical have to install updates, so that's not a factor. PC gamers spend 6 hours playing games if they prefer physical, and 7.6 hours if they prefer digital. So by far, if you want to spend the most amount of time per week, 7.6 for preferred digital and play on PC. I'm not sure. Like, clearly I am spending sometimes more than 7.6 hours just streaming Hearthstone in some days, particularly during the expansions, but I'm not sure I'm getting 7.6 hours of other recording happening. So, like, yes, that is a demand upon myself to double the amount of hours being spent, but I should be actually a lot further. If this is a job and I'm going to treat it like a job, it should be... I should be spending 40 hours on streaming, and in like 15 hours might be closer some weeks. Alright, moving on though, PC Gamer has an article, Dead or Alive 6 aims to be less jiggly than previous games. Team Ninja hopes to put the focus on the fighting, but it's up to the players to decide what they really want. Now, remember, this is PC Gamer talking about this article, and so they are probably one of the most sex-negative SJW sources of news that I continue to listen to. So, and Team Ninja kind of knows that too. In fact, they just assume that from everybody they're talking to from the West. So don't worry, in Japan at least, the Japanese version of Dead or Alive is going to be as jiggly as ever. And I think there probably will be just like a meter and different costumes. In all honesty, looking at DOA 6 in this trailer, I don't see anything that interests me. Like, a fighting game that looks really pretty, in theory, should be something I'm interested in. Definitely, but that trailer did not interest me at all. And I don't mean just because it didn't have any girls with cleavage showing, being shown. All the two girls that were shown in the trailer I just saw were pretty much fully clothed, covered up. But the other fighters weren't doing really moves. I think DOA is more of a bare-fisted fighting game that doesn't, I really feel like, it probably doesn't appeal to too many people that don't know many different fighting styles and don't know the characters, and so there's kind of a... Let's see, actually, the director Yuhei Shimbori was talking to Game Informer about it, and PC Gamer is just retweeting, basically rewriting the Game Informer article. But I imagine Game Informer is also a pretty sex-negative SJW group of people too, because almost everybody in the industry is. Let's see. Like, here's the quotes. The first quote is, "This is a work in progress, a prototype, so we might change in the future. For this version, we still have Kasumi in her previous costume, and there are some parts that are going to jiggle or move, but we want to make it a lot more natural. That's one goal." Now, natural has always been a goal for that, because nobody really wants an insane amount of jiggle, unless it's a joke. Like, certainly there are some comedy animes out there where the boob jiggle is gravity defying and never stopping, but natural has always been the desire. However, natural means what actually is happening in nature, not particularly what one side or the other side actually want. It's like, I don't think I've ever heard of any anime fan complaining because there wasn't boob jiggle in the game, with perhaps the exception of instances where there should have been, because where there's been a lot of complaints otherwise. And the amount of jiggle is certainly not the only factor. It's just what they're talking about here. Here's another quote. "We have to see what gamers really want, what their response is." And so this is the developer of DOA specifically saying, do you really want this? Because we're getting this message from Game Informer and others that you don't want this, but then when we leave it out, our games don't sell. And DOA 5 last round, he's saying, may have gone a little overboard with the jiggle physics, but there's no overworking effect that sex sells. Here's another quote, "Not all gamers want the same thing, but we want to ask their opinions. All of them need to get their feedback on it." A lot of this is literally just the Japanese director platituding the Game Informer people, honestly. This is not how Japanese people work or think. They're gonna do whatever they want to do, and like any artist really should just do whatever they want to do. Consequences be damned. They are trying to sell a product, but Japanese in general will go, yes, we'll agree with you, we'll do whatever you want, and then they'll just ignore you. Like, and I'm glad for it. It's one of the reasons why Japanese games are influential, and the other game developers aren't so much. So yeah, we shall see what DOA 6 looks like and is, but right now, from the trailer I saw, a definite lack of interest. And here I've just hidden a whole collection of duplicate tabs. Bandai Namco also is working on new Tales game, and PC Gamer is talking about that. I think we already talked about that. There's no real data. We already did this. Man, I've got just every tab duplicated. Gamasutra has an article, "Gaming Disorder Officially Listed in the World Health Organization's Diagnostics Document." So, despite everybody in their right mind and anybody with any actual scientific way of thinking or knowledge, the 11th revision of the International Compendium of Disease, the ICD, now includes gaming disorder, which is not what's used in the United States, at least. The the official thing is the Diagnostic and Statistics Manual, the DSM, which is like DSM-6. I think it's the newest one, and they are certainly more leaning away from creating fake conditions like gaming disorder to hide or label or just complain about things that old people who run the World Health Organization are complaining about. The proper diagnosis if somebody is obsessively playing video games to the point where it's getting in the way of their normal life is obsessive compulsive disorder or obsessive disorder, maybe. That disease already exists, it already has treatments, it already makes sense. Obsessive disorder allows for somebody's obsession to change from one thing to the other, which it often does, and it allows it to be diagnosed and treated perfectly fine now. There's no reason to create what is effectively a fake disorder of gaming disorder just for headlines. That's just it. The disorder is already there. I often will get into a rant too about sex addiction is not a real disorder. You can't be a sex addict because it doesn't unnaturally change the chemicals in your brains like being a drug addict or an alcoholic does. What you have, what some people can have, is obsessive disorder, where they're having sex or thinking about sex to the point where it's hurting your natural, the rest of your life. And you can be obsessed about so many different things. And frankly, sex addiction is used by wives to diagnose their husbands inaccurately and wrongly. It's crazy. The ESA, the Entertainment Software Association, that is a lobbyist group for the video game industry, it was quoted as saying, putting that official addictive label on games recklessly trivializes real mental health issues like depression and social anxiety disorder. Other researchers have moved to publish an article in the Journal of Behavioral Addiction arguing that the decision suggesting against the decision suggesting that the World Health Organization should err on the side of caution because the burden of evidence and clinical utility should be extremely high because there is genuine risk of abusive diagnosis. And that's the thing, is that now kids around the world might get thrown in mental facilities because they like to play video games. Bad parents, bad governments might throw kids in facilities to just get rid of them, just to lock them up because of this non-real diagnosis. And I think it is only important to stress it out as a bad non-real diagnosis. That's all it is. There's no argument that is legitimate or scientific for this being made. Well, in a weird way, I'm gonna have to chop up the videos and cut out the break in the middle, but my timer, I paused it and I started again, so it should have been an hour worth of content now, so I can start the next recording, and we'll be on the Americas account. We'll try to rush through news. There's still a ton of news. And hopefully we'll have no more issues of batteries dying or having to go to the bathroom. Like, that is one of my major concerns, is that I'll just start having to go to the bathroom a ton, and not be able to make recordings at all. That certainly could happen. That's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, There's a bunch of links down in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, gift me a game on Steam. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.
Hold on to your mug. We're in for a wild night.
Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, June 18th, and we are on the Americas account. We got a ton of news to cover, and we're still doing this Time Tinkerer expansion. Like, I'm loving how this is playing out. They've stretched very little content into a really nice experience of getting a lot of gold and a lot of dust. So, like, I'm gonna get 260 dust when usually, at best, I'm getting 120 per 3 days. And I really don't need to do anything other than play ranked to get the quest done, which is even better. So I can just now play what HS Replay says is my best deck, Spectral Priest, and just play. I can just play the game. I'm not having to build special decks, and I'm not having to do anything different. I can actually try to get up in ranked and get ranked victories, and if I succeed, great. If I don't, it's fine. I've got a ton of news. So there's a game called OK/Normal. It's $2.99. It looks like garbage. It's really ugly. I'm gonna leave it at that and move on to the next game on Steam, which is called Mists of the Wind of Friends and Fairies Collector's Edition for Big Fish Games. It's hidden object games selling for $12.99 like all their other hidden object games. And if you're willing to pay a premium for decent hidden object games, Big Fish Games is probably the one for you. I imagine you could spend several $100s on all the Big Fish Games are things that are released.
Job's done.
Excuse me. Next game we have on Steam is called Beyond Minimalism. It says it's an adventure indie game. They say it's a small experimental first-person minimalistic style game that gives one and only quest for you. Walk around rooms in the strange labyrinth looking for clues to reach nature. See, I know this game is trying to sucker me into buying it. It's 40% off for $2.39. Like, there's no saving. It's WASD, no controller support. This is one of the new games that has Steam is learning more about this game before it will let them have any kind of over 100 achievements or other coupons. It's pretty much all those being limited. This developer has made several other games, but only one of them has been rated. No, 2 of them have been rated positive. Nothing else has been rated negative. I kind of want to be generous and give this one a chance. Like, the hyper minimalistic idea is interesting. So, with the caveat knowing that in a few days I'm going to probably eliminate a considerable amount of games on my wish list during the summer sale, because that's kind of the only thing I'll do for the summer sales, I'll just go through the list and clear things off that have come out of early access but don't look interesting anymore. And I'm not really expecting to purchase too much, so yeah. I imagine some of these games I'm gonna add. Right now, we've got somebody in the chat. Robo Murloc. I demand a JoJo reference, please. Do you mean Fist of the North Star JoJo or some other JoJo? Because I really don't have any JoJo references to give you. I know that Fist of the North Star JoJo, he goes like yata something like that. I'm probably saying the totally wrong thing when he's doing his major attack, but that's kind of all I know. And if you're talking about some other JoJo, I have no idea. I also could certainly get pissy with you in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Ah, okay. Yeah, that's not Fist of the North Star. There's two of them. I also don't know that anime. Sorry. Like, sorry. Don't know the anime. I've heard people talk about it. I've heard people say it's awesome and that you should watch it. Or at least some of the series of it. There's been several of them. But that's kind of all I can say about it. I don't think there's been too many JoJo Bizarre Adventure games, and I don't think there's anything coming out recently, so it's not very video game related right now. Moving on, the next game we have on Steam is called Mind Trap. It's a adventure indie casual. It's another one of these kind of asset flip crazy games. I sort of want to give this game, I'm warming up to being in a generous mood. I want to give this game, Mind Trap, a chance, but I really don't know what it is. It seems like it's mostly an asset flip. Let's see, I can't consider play this.
By the elements combined.
Yeah, and Mind Trap is 40% off for $2.39, and this is another game that claims no saving and it's only keyboard and mouse. And is this the same? This is the exact same developer who made the previous game, so Mind Trap and Beyond Minimalism both coming out on the exact same day, which teaches me to go back and close Beyond Minimalism, because if you're gonna flood Steam with two mediocre at best games, then you're not trustworthy enough to make a good product, in my opinion. Yeah. Robo Murloc says, yeah, it's awesome, I recommend it. Right now, personally, I've wasted so much time watching TV and Netflix and such that the last thing I need to do is get into yet another series instead of recording content. But I would fairly say that the people should check it out.
Beware the shadow.
I can win next turn, probably with this alone. Let's see, we already talked about Tokyo Ghoul Recall Exists being announced for the PS4. Let's see. A game, according to Gamematsu, a game called Groove Coaster for Steam launches July 16th. Ride the rhythmic rails of success. Groove Coaster for Steam is a rhythm game that will have limited offline play requiring a Steam login every 7 days, which I don't know how many games are like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not a lot. So it's a VR game, I think. And there's a track list, so you're not just playing your own music. I want to look at this. I'm gonna watch the trailer for this. So yeah, riding a roller coaster, listening to a bunch of anime music. It's an interesting thought, certainly. It looks like maybe it's not so much riding a roller coaster as it is doing. It actually looks like a mobile game from what I'm looking at, like they're porting a cell phone game to Steam. Like I was expecting something different, and this looks a little bit like Rez, but it looks a lot more like a musical, just minimalistic square you're playing as while you're running down a line. I tried to play one musical-based line runner game, and boy, could I not get past even the first level. I just have no rhythm. So I couldn't play Groove Coaster as it is right now anyways, but maybe a little interest to other people. But for me, I really have no reason to even wishlist it, because I'm such a bad instance of I have no beat. Like, alright. Moving on to the next article, Gematsu has an article. Steins Gate Elite launches September 20th in Japan. Steins Gate Elite launches for the PS4, Switch, and PS Vita September 20th in Japan. One kind of hopes that this is one of the major Steins Gate games that are good, so it will come out to PC in the West. I did want to play the Steins Gate series. I'm not sure where the Elite breaks down in that, but it is still part visual novel as a series, so that was going to be hard. Steins Gate 0 comes out in North America and Europe for PS4, Switch, and PC in 2018, so it seems like the Japanese people are going to get some games earlier, and then after a year it's going to make its way to the rest of the world to stop reverse importation. Let's see this. And can we win this and this? And can I save myself? That gets me to 9. So nope, I screwed up. I should have probably played this.
Nicely done.
Next game we have on Steam is called Dark Maze 2. It's the Dark Screenshot Syndrome. It's another game with a bunch of random assortments of assets being flipped into a maze. So either somebody has released something on Unreal or Unity to automatically make engine mazes, or the same person has decided to just try to make and publish the same games over and over again. Dark Maze 2 is the sequel to Dark Maze 1 that came out December 1st, 2017, and that is mixed reviews at best.
Anduin versus Thrall.
In fact, everything the developers made at best had mixed reviews, and everything the publisher, which is a different company, has made, for the most part, is mixed reviews or negative reviews. And one look at Dark Maze 2, you know it's not a game that deserves to exist. It's just an asset flip. Moving on, next game we have on Steam is called A Lot Like Love. It says it's an indie adventure. It looks to me like a Western visual novel. It is animated and drawn horribly. This is not something I would call an art style. This is just a lack of ability to draw human people and put shading on their faces and get the proportions correct. And yeah, it seems like this is just like a visual novel. It's English and Russian, which is always a suspicious combination for your
You are the Shadow's
oops, I should have played
Right
that.
away.
It's always suspicious when those are the two languages. 30% off for $3.49. And frankly, I need to learn if I say a game looks bad to just close it and not throw any more dates in it. People are gonna just have to trust me. Next game we have on Steam is called Freebot Battle for the Free Web, and it seems like a bunch of robots running around shooting each other, maybe with a little bit of laser swords, and there's the pedo bear running around for no reason. That's not how I thought that sentence would end. So this seems like this is probably, for the most part, more of a meme game than a real game. It's $1.99, and it's probably an asset flip. It doesn't actually look too bad. It doesn't look super special either. But it's the first game from this developer, and it doesn't seem like there's anything to do here. Just an experiment of a game with some weird meaning in it. It's going in the turn. Next game we have is called QI capital VR Quiver, and this came out June 18th. So I don't know why I'm seeing it now. Wait, isn't today June 18th? Yes, today is June 18th. Yeah, that's why I'm seeing it now. Stupid me. I don't know what day it is. Time just flies when you're playing video games and suffering from insomnia all the time. It's rated very positive, 93% of 377 reviews, which is an incredibly high number of reviews. So this game may have been in early access, and it looks like a VR game where you're shooting archeries, and it's a standard VR game where you're standing in one place and just shooting a horde of enemies coming to you. But there seems to be a lot more to it. It says it has Diablo style loot drops. It seems to have special abilities. The enemies are varied and yet consistent in the art style. There's gates that the enemies have to break through, so this is in a sense tower defense, but not in the sense that there's a considerably large amount of other towers. There's just one tower you're standing on to shoot at enemies, it seems. Like, I don't want to sound hyper hyped about this game, but it does look like it is at least 2 or 3 steps higher than a lot of the other archery VR games. However, it's 20% off, and they want $15.99, so you're paying a premium still for VR games. And let's see. Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna heal myself and play this. Notice this is a gold version of this card and this is a regular version of the card, and that's why they look different. I always felt like in Hearthstone that was a waste of time to animate games toys. It is an incredibly large amount of people writing reviews, and I half suspect vote manipulation for just the large amount of reviews here, but maybe it was just an early access. And Quiver does look like it's a good game, so that somebody put some real effort. If they're running a con, this is a major con. So if you have VR, look out for QUI, capital VR, or Quiver. That's a good one. However, for me, I don't think I'm ever getting to VR, and I think during the Steam Summer Sale in particular, I'm going to make a specific effort to
Let me change your mind.
to not have any VR games left on my wish list. Let's see. Cardinals Gaming came on, and he said Triple X Temptation died today. I saw that on Reddit. I don't know who that person is. Is he a rapper? Is this a real thing, or is this just like a meme where everybody is saying that? Because, like, I've literally never heard of this person. And so, no offense meant at all there. I just have no idea who that is. Not at all. So, moving on. If Cardinals Gaming wants to give me more information there, that'd be helpful, but otherwise I'm just going to ignore it. We have a game on Steam called Kitty Run. It's an action indie casual game. I don't think it looks good enough. It looks like it's just a platformer with a bunch of cheap assets graphically. It's probably something like a Super Meat Boy attempt at a clone, but pathetically done. It's 40% off for 59 cents, and it's the first game from this developer, and I think that's all I kind of really need to know. Yeah, it's basically a infinite runner with a bunch of spikes, and you have to probably tap the screen or hit a button to make the kitten do flips and jump. Yeah, doesn't look like there's anything too special about that. Let's see. That one. Then that. And then the turn. PC Gamer has an article. I tried all 100 recipes in the World of Warcraft cookbook, and it made me love this game again. This is one of the things PC Gamers I think was doing for a short time, was cooking food sort of based on video games like Skyrim. Most of the time the recipes had to be modified a little bit, but I think this is actually an actual World of Warcraft cookbook, which is some very weird branding. And so yeah, I'm looking at some pictures of like 3 things he cooked, and they look fine. They look like actually really good food, but I don't know how much that really has to do with video games, just because somebody branded a cookbook using World of Warcraft's name. Let's see. Next game we have on Steam is a game called Esports Manager. It's mixed, with 56% of 12 user reviews giving a positive review. To me, it probably is. It looks a little bit more complicated than the cheap, lazy asset flip, but I don't know if I like any of it at all. And the idea of playing a game like as the manager of an esports team, It leaves you this opportunity to just watch the game play itself, because that's kind of what I suspect is going to happen, is that you're just going to watch the game play itself.
Pinch of death cup, heel of shoes. You are the shadow's perfect.
My duty is to the king.
Let's see, this one has rush, so we can just go ahead and kill this one in the turn. Yeah, with mixed reviews from a developer who's made a game called Dinner Mania and Car Mechanic Manager. Each of those games having mixed reviews. It's not Esports Manager is not a game worth keeping attention on. Next game we have on Steam is called Underground Bone Marrow. Looks like a CGA game. It's got that horrible CGA color palette of pink and ugly green. And it looks like it's kind of a Doom or type game. Yeah, it's a fast-paced type game where you're running around a dungeon fighting monsters like Doom. Let's see, it's 33% off for $1.33, and even at that price, I don't think Underground Bone Marrow is worth people's time. Alright, so the one thing I want to double check before I hop back in the game is to make sure I've done everything. Yes, I have. So as soon as I'm done with the news, I can kind of just end this recording, but I've got so much to do, so let's do this. There's a game on Steam called Debit and Credit, a walk through accounting hell. It looks like it's an asset flip. You know, the idea of teaching accounting would be interesting, but that's not what this game is. They're just asset flipping a game and calling it an educational game. This is to the level of dishonesty that should be probably flagged on Steam. The visual aspects here do not talk about accounting or show like a accounting journal or anything. I'm looking at a 3D model of some kind of robot man standing, or more accurately floating above spiral stairs. And I think we're gonna have to just get really mean here. Next game is called Hypertrain Corporation. Let's see, even if this was a good game, it wouldn't interest me as a resource management strategy economy game. It doesn't actually look too bad. It's 40% off for $44.79. Hypertrain Corporation, not too bad. It's from a developer who's made half a dozen games, none of which have ever gotten any reviews, so not enough people played it. Inherently, I think Steam's recent changes are trying to work towards fixing that. Like, if people actually could see good games and actually play them, so that developers aren't flooding Steam with 6 games and none of them are even meeting the metric to get a rating, like not getting even 10 people to review or rate your game, that is a problem. Certainly though, if you compare that to like Walmart, how many games, like not video games, but how many things in Walmart actually have user reviews that anybody could access or see? Is one toilet paper versus another toilet paper going to get a review? Is one paper towel versus another paper towel going to get a review? There's a lot of things that just come and go, and ideally we would want to be informed customers, but there's certainly a lot of a lot of products out there that never get reviews and never really need them. I think video games kind of need them because they're asking a lot more of your time than most products also. Let's see. Now it's the time to play this, I suppose. Game Master has an article. Falcom is considering turning Tokyo Xanadu into a franchise. Tokyo. So the 2015 PS Vita action RPG game Tokyo Xanadu, which has since seen enhanced ports to the PC and PS4. So they're thinking about turning that into a franchise. That's like an announcement for an announcement for an announcement for an announcement for an announcement. Like there's literally no news there. But if people like Tokyo Xanadu, I guess they'd be hyped that maybe it'll get turned into a game. Let's see. PC Gamer has an article. The Android Netrunner is going to end after the next card set. It says Android Netrunner, and I assume that means the Android version of the cult hit card game Netrunner. Well, they're really calling it Android Netrunner, and it's just ending after the next expansion. Imagine if Hearthstone just said, on the next after the next expansion, we're just stopping Hearthstone. That'd be crazy. The game is ending due to the expiration of Fantasy Flight Games' licensing agreement with Wizards of the Coast. Android Netrunner was a 2012 reboot of the 1996 Richard Garfield card game Android, originally card game Netrunner, originally published by Wizards of the Coast. Yeah, Wizards of the Coast has this like stupidly ridiculous copyright on all card games and collectible card games in the United States. It's ridiculous and should not have been allowed. Or approved. Beware the shadow. Let's see.
Amazing.
See, I cannot. There's nothing here to indicate that Android Netrunner actually is on the Android cell phone on an operating system. To me, it just seems like that's the name of it, which also means that this isn't actually video game news. This is PC Gamer expanding their news, which they've started to do, to cover board games, and in this case collectible card games. So, yeah. Moving on, next game we have on Steam is called The Outsiders. It's supposed to be a top-down survival shooter. Looking at the top, it looks a little bit like a top-down, probably twin-stick shooter. It seems like you're playing as a monster, a little Diablo-esque. You're playing as the boss, and you summon minions to fight for you. Interesting. Let's see what we want. I don't think playing as the enemy monster really changes too much. This game is 15% off for $2.54. And while The Outsiders is interesting enough at first glance, I imagine you would run out of interest in it pretty quick. And it's the only game from this developer, so I'm just going to ignore that and close that. PC Gamer has an article. Dying Light's 2 stunning setting promises to fix the first game's biggest flaws. Techland isn't just looking to make a bigger sequel, but a more narrative-focused one too. It's hard to agree with the idea that there was too many flaws in the first place with Dying Light, because I think that was a hugely successful game. Let's see. Let's heal this to an 8 just to irritate him. Then attack. We will certainly see more about Dying Light. I'm a little not 100% sold on Dying Light 2 because I feel like Dying Light 1 was a little bit less serious, and Dying Light 2 seems like it might go into a grim and overly serious way of storytelling. Moving on, PC Gamer has an article. Ninja partners with Red Bull, announces Rise Till Dawn Fortnite Duos tourney. This July, Rise Till Dawn starts when the sun sets and stops when it rises. Okay, it's probably not news that people should write about in the video game industry, just because right now with YouTube and Twitch streamers, I don't want to see one streamer get promoted over another, and inherently if the big mainstream media decides to start doing that, people are not going to be happy about it, and they're probably better off just not reporting. Like, I know Ninja's big right now, but is he going to be big a year from now? Who knows? Like, for the most part, in a similar way, I don't talk about PewDiePie unless something major is happening there. Unless the mains, somebody is attacking him for something, or he's done something so incredibly dumb that it's affected all of YouTube. Here's an article from a website called mxdwn.com. How'd I get here? It's the article's State of Mind E3 Impressions, Smart Dystopian Sci-Fi with an Unnerving Possible Future. So this must have been from the developer that they retweeted somebody's impressions. I'm not ready to see people's impressions of State of Mind. I'm gonna wait till real gamers actually play it. PC Gamer has an article. Clay quietly began the open beta for Hot Lava during E3. Their new game is a first-person parkour obstacle course where the floor is lava. It doesn't look terrible, this Clay game, although I am still not 100% sold on it actually being a fun game. It doesn't require VR support, so it is a game I'll wishlist and keep an eye on it, but like, you're selling a very simplistic concept that you're going to have to introduce a lot of gameplay mechanics and obstacles and things to jump on for it to turn into something closer to Mirror's Edge versus something that's just a cheap joke game. Because right now it's leaning closer to being a cheap joke game. Moving on, PC Gamer has an article. Beyond Blue is an underwater exploration game inspired by BBC's Blue Planet 2. Let's watch this teaser trailer. I don't have time to read it, watch it, but let's see. It's the team behind the 2014's Never Alone, which is a game that I kept trying to play, and I still am trying to play. And also there's Abzu out there, so I'm not sure you'd want to particularly play something compared to Abzu. Beyond Blue does look very pretty. The thing I guess about Abzu though is that there's this alien weirdness and gameplay mechanics added, where this game might try to be closer to a simpler just exploration game. What's gonna sell me on this or not is whether there's actual gameplay on this. Is there a beginning and end, any kind of story? But for the moment, I will wishlist Beyond Blue, and I think I've already wishlist Abzu. It's probably not good Hearthstone strategy to play two of the same cards at any point. Rock Paper Shotgun has an article, Blast Off in Space Invaders Extreme demo. Like Space Invaders Extreme has it's been out for a while, hasn't it? So I don't know why there's an article here. Let's see, why somebody wrote a June 16th article talking about Space Invaders Extreme seems very odd, considering I don't think the game came out for any platform at all recently. And this is certainly an example of why Rock Paper Shotgun. It came out February 12th, 2018, so it actually hasn't been out that long. I must be thinking of a different game in the Extreme series. I don't know. Anyways, Space Invaders Extreme is rated positive, 91% of 47 user reviews. And it's a game I'd like to try. $19.99 is asking for a lot of money for a new twist on Space Invaders, but I did like Pac-Man Championship Edition DX. Kill. Nope, we'll just attack. The next game we have on Steam is called Adventure of a Digger, and it looks exactly like a clone of Digger. I believe that's the name of this game. They want... It's 40% off for $5.39, and for as pretty as this looks, to be a direct clone of Digger is crazy. This developer has made like 5 other games, none of which have been reviewed. This is...
I must consider...
I guess it's up to the people, if anybody owns the rights to Digger, to sue. But it seems a little odd that somebody's not gonna... Somebody can get away with that. Even if it is a prettier clone, it's still a clone. It needs something different. It needs more to interest new people to play. You know, I don't even think it was a clone of Digger, come to think of it. Digger is a slightly different game. It was a clone of a different Atari. Maybe the game just called Adventure? No, I don't think so. Anyways, moving on. PC Gamer has an article, Devil May Cry 5 will be out before April next year. Seems like there's really nothing else. They're also saying probably before the end of March, according to another source. So people hyped for Devil May Cry can continue to be hyped for Devil May Cry. Let's see. Hold on, I want to do that. Let's see. PC Gamer has an article. It's time for cyberpunk games to remember how to be punk. Cyberpunk games near the grime and neon, but too often forget the underdogs and losers who define the genre. Ah, yes, I guess that makes sense. This is more of an editorial article that I don't really have time to read right now. Let's see this. Let's go and play this. So I'm just skimming over this. I imagine Cyberpunk 2077, which is the one they're mostly talking about, still won't really have punks as the heroes so much, because most video games you don't start with characters that are losers and degenerates. So yeah, maybe you can have secondary characters like that, but for the most part, people know what a hero, the hero they want to be and want to play as, and you want to be Dragonborn. You don't want to be Khajiit the Thief as much as some people might argue that they do.
The light shall bring victory.
Let's see. There's a Rock Paper Shotgun article. Sim Brexit game. Apparently Sim Brexit is either the name of a company or a made-up phrase. The game is called Not Tonight, releases next month. In sort of the vein of Papers, Please and Beholder. I don't think we can have too many games on Steam though that are political before it's going to be a backlash. Not Tonight looks like it's in that same vein of Papers, Please and Beholder, also in the fact that the graphics are amazingly good and you are spending a considerable amount of effort and time working through a menu system more than just looking at the characters. Not Tonight is you play a bouncer in a pub and you're looking at people's IDs, and I think the political statement here is something that could be argued against a lot more than, say, Papers, Please, where it's a fictional country and you can just say, in this country these are the rules, this is what's actually going on, where if you're saying this is what's going to happen after Brexit is fully implemented, nobody really knows that. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article, limited run E3 2018 press conference recap. I don't know why specifically they are doing this recap article so late after E3. I guess it's probably because TechRaptor doesn't have that many employees, as being a smaller video game website. So you could look at that. They also have the Square Enix press conference recap, and I guess I'm going to just sort of quickly scroll through this. I'm seeing the Quiet Mayhem coverage and how that's supposed to be a live action game, and that's ridiculous. Like, once I heard that game that the game was going to be live action and then cut to the CG we saw, that is crazy. Let's see. Moving on, we have a game. I'll mention there was an article earlier about PlayerUnknown of PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds defending his game as not an asset flip, and he kind of said, nope, not true, and then later on he said, yes, actually that is true. So there's conflicting stories that came out, which does not look good on him, certainly.
Your magic shall not save you. Job's done.
But I don't want to get into it too much because, frankly, I don't care enough. There's a game on Steam called Neo Neo. What is this? It's a bunch of random things that I cannot, from the screenshots, even tell what kind of gameplay it is. It seems like it's a Super Meat Boy-esque game where you're always jumping forward and the sides of the screens are never getting used. They want $1.79 right now for 10% off, and there's nothing here that interests me. It's the first developed game by this developer, and so let's move on. Rush. And kill. Play. And attack.
Quickly.
And regret how I played that. PC Gamer has an article, Cyberpunk 2077 will have diverse relationship options, gay, straight, bi, casual, committed. It's up to you how to decide, which probably, knowing that this is PC Gamer writing this article, I bet this is CD Projekt Red very, very slyly saying, yeah, there aren't going to be any options that say any of that, and we're not going to go out of our way to make it
Job's done.
happen one way or the other. I think I wouldn't be surprised if the relationships don't go very well and aren't really that well written. For example, in Skyrim you can have male companions or female companions that are your just with you to help you fight. In your own headcanon, you could have had any of those companions at any point also be in romantic relationships. Now, Skyrim does eventually let you do that also, but it had, I believe, some actual metrics where you couldn't romance some people because they were straight or gay, but maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of a different game. Cyberpunk 2077 is kind of just a big question mark right now, and we need to see the game actually come out and not get hyped or overhyped or underhyped or really do much of anything until the product is ready to go. See, I could have definitely done this differently. Let's see. One sec. I'm going to take a drink of water. Next game we have on Steam is called Stick Spartans. Graphics look relatively good considering it's just a bunch of squares with sticks fighting each other. The 4-player local co-op. One of these games that really has no story. 10% off for $9.89. That's pretty expensive. It's pretty, certainly, but there's really nothing here either, and it's the first game from this developer, so close that tab. Let's see.
I must consider.
You are the Shadow's puppet.
My hand is too full.
Come on,
Right away.
kill one of these guys. Please kill this guy.
Oh.
Right. Next game we have on Steam is called Teleportals. I swear it's a nice game. That's the actual name. the whole sentence there. Teleportals, period. I swear it's a nice, actual nice game. It says it has nudity, action, indie, adventure, 2D, anime. So I think we've hit the point of straight up begging. And the thumbnails have girls in bikinis, and the animation style doesn't look that good. And as I'm trying to see any gameplay, it seems like it's at best a platformer, a 2D platformer of some sort. Maybe there's portals involved in it in some way. Let's go and trade all these cards out while we're playing Hearthstone. 15% off for 84 cents. And
greetings, friend.
Let's see, 15 positive reviews to 2 negative reviews, which doesn't really mean anything.
Greetings.
Yep. And let's see. This is the second game from this developer. Like, and the other game that they made looks rather similar. Yeah, straight up begging at this point. There's no reason in the world that you would have interest in teleportals. I swear it's a nice game. Just because of the name alone and the way it's selling itself. Like, it is just a 2D platforming game where you also have teleporting and portals as a mechanic, but clearly you didn't have any confidence to actually sell the game on what you had made, so you filled it with a bunch of nudity assets. Like, nobody accidentally pays an artist to have like anime girls in your game. You either want it as a selling point or you don't, because you have more confidence in the gameplay and the story you're trying to tell. Moving on, next game we have is called Cogent Defender, K-O-G-E-N-T, Space Defender. Let's see. Looks like a top-down twin-stick shooter, maybe with some boss fight elements. It's low polygon. It's, let's see, 15% off at $12.74, which at that price it's certainly not worth what it looks like. It's from a developer who's made one other game that was rated positive.
I wonder.
But the other game they made is just a Super Meat Boy clone. Far too many Super Meat Boy clones happening.
Your magic shall not save you.
Do my bidding.
Let's see, we already talked about that game. We already talked about the Kill La Kill game being announced. I'm kind of hyped to see what that is, even if it doesn't come to the list. We already talked about that game. I might have a considerable amount of duplicates here. Here's a game on Steam called Treasure, gosh, pronounce things correctly. Treasure Hunter Man 2, which seems a little odd because I'm pretty sure the main character in the thumbnail is a female. It's kind of a 16-bit platformer. Kind of looks like Spelunky in a way. Like, I don't inherently hate this. It looks fast-paced. It looks like something that is playable and doable. It's 15% off for $1.69, so they're not asking for too much. Although it would be it's obviously not a very long game. I'd almost want to see this developer get some more time and more money. But there is a slight issue here in that there is no Treasure Hunter Man 1. So, how could I suggest playing a game where the sequel doesn't happen? It says Treasure Hunter Man 2 is a retro Metroidvania. Acquire new equipment. This version comes with Steam achievements and other minor updates. If you want to go to full screen, you have to Alt Enter. The standard controls WASD. Gamepads will work if they're plugged in before you start. The inventory is opened while the third action button D on the keyboard is pressed. And I'd love to be generous on Treasure Hunter Man 2 because it actually looks good, but why name it 2 if this is actually the first game in your series? This game is clearly short. It doesn't have great keyboard support, controller support. I could probably find something better. I've got to be pickier than I have been.
My children, beware the shadow.
Heck, I'll be generous. I'll wishlist it, but I say everybody be real careful on that one. Rock Paper Shotgun has free games of the week. That's an article I don't really need to read because all the free games that come out in a week you can just immediately pretty much ignore. Somebody made a game called Modern Roguelike, which is like an RPG Maker, I think just joke game for 89 cents, 10% off. So let's close that. Somebody made a game called The Goat Man, which says it's an early access adventure gore strategy action game. It's an online co-op hunting game. Apparently, it looks more than your average asset flip, but it probably is just, for the most part, an asset flip co-op survival hunting game. I guess the idea here is you're hunting the goat man instead of hunting each other. It's an early access version 0.41, 15% off of $12.74. I kind of prefer if what's on Steam didn't show me games that are in early access, but whatever. Next game is a game called Grand Scree Online. It's an online only MMO. Is it even in English? Yes, it's only in English. It does not look good. So we'll close that.
I wonder.
Play this.
Job's done. That's incredible.
Next game we have is called Cuisine Royale, which is just a free-to-play, massive multiplayer PUBG clone. Some of these games I probably could have filtered out. For example, here we go. Here's a game called XXX Puzzle on Steam that in its trailer is showing hardcore pornography, animated hardcore pornography. And it's tagged sexual content, nudity, free to play. So I have no idea where they're getting the money from. This feels like this is one of those games that's being put on Steam just to make Steam look bad. And yes, this developer has several games that start XX, XXX, just free to play fake games, I'd imagine. Wow. As for what it really is it's just a slide puzzle game that nobody should waste their time on. The graphics don't look good, but like that trailer should be flagged. However, at this point, I'm not even willing to flag content that I directly know is inappropriate. Next game we have on Steam is called Free Fall Tournament. It's a multiplayer only game. It looks mediocre in its graphics. And that's kind of what I'm going to leave it at. It's 10% off for $4.49. Next game is a game called Lords of Kingdoms. It has mixed reviews, 43% positive. It's a free-to-play strategy RPG, massive multiplayer. It's also a multiplayer game. Wow. I'm going through quite a few multiplayer games. Next game is called World of Feudal, which is a strategy indie simulation game. Single player this time. So they're not all multiplayer. Oops. I should have played better there. It seems like this World of Feudal game has very little animation, and the most part of it is like bad animation with text telling you most of the story. 40% off $1.19. So they kind of know what the price is, but it's not great. So I'm not gonna wishlist that. Next game is Survival Z Battlegrounds. Clearly another PUBG DayZ survival ripoff game. No need to even go any further than that. It's 59 cents though, so I will mention the price. Alright. This and then this.
The red one tastes like cherries. That's incredible.
Let's go ahead and attack here and play control. Next game we have on Steam is called Guess the Meme. Clearly it's a meme game. It's clearly garbage. They want $2.99 with no discount at all. And meanwhile, with each of these memes, you're like that's probably not fair use, and even if it is fair use, you're still probably violating several people's copyrights. Even if some of them were fair use, I don't think all of them will be. I already talked about that game. We already talked about this game. Yes, if I just figure out how to stop having duplicate tabs open, this is gonna work. We have a game on Steam called Vein Hotel, V-E-I-N, as in veins of blood. It says it's an adventure indie horror thriller game. It looks like it might be a little bit of an asset flip, but maybe there's enough game here. Problem is, this is just like one of those games where you're gonna wander around an area and see spooky things, and that's probably all that you're gonna experience. This game is in English and traditional Chinese. It's $3.99, and English and Russian or English and Chinese tells me that the game has a high chance of being a low effort game, and that's what I think Vein Hotel is, so I'm going to close that. Like, next game we have is a game called Tad, That Alien Dude, and the graphics look awful. MS Paint level. This is an extreme low effort game. 20% off for $3.99. First game from this developer. There's a game on Steam called Amaze Bowl, which is a 3D bowling in space game that doesn't look really great. I don't think there's been a really well made bowling game. It's not just bowling in space, it's bowling in several different places, like bowling down a ski lift and such. But the graphics aren't here. I think somebody could make a VR game like this. This is a VR game for $9.99. I think somebody could make something like that, but there is a level to it that has to be considered. A level of quality that's not here. So yeah, I'm gonna close that tab. The next game we have is a game called Recog: The First Wave, which says it's a simulation base building game. If you're building a base, it seems like you're building a base by some kind of space element and some kind of isometric cubist design that makes no sense. Like, I'm seeing a lot of things, like cubes, that I have no idea what they do. It's weird game. And this lost me 10% off for $22.49. That's a ridiculously high price for a game that on the face of it makes no sense and also doesn't look that good. Next game we have is a game called A Light in the Dark. It's rated very positive, 96% of 144 users. It came out June 15th. It's an indie violent gore casual visual novel, anime tags. It doesn't look terrible in its presentation. It's a visual novel, so the requirements are a little low. It's English and simplified Chinese and traditional Chinese, and it has a demo, which apparently demos now have a different gradient background compared to
Is someone injured?
Tortola, preserve us!
the buy button. 10% off for $13.49.
Well played.
The thing here is there's no full audio in English, so even if this is an amazingly good visual novel from China, which I would be rather happy to see, it's from Sekai Project as the publisher, which Steam apparently is updating a lot of things, because Sekai Project, when I just clicked on that, took me to a whole new Steam website store. Like, yeah. This is crazy. Yeah, I'd be happy to see Chinese visual novels and Chinese video games in general just become better products. Same for Russian things. If they had some quality behind their name, that's better than just having a entire country besmirched by low effort products. And moving on, there's a game called Invasion on Steam. It's an action arcade bullet hell shooter. I don't like bullet hell shooters. It's $4.99. It looks good enough. I can't really say too much more than that. So much of that is going to be the feel of the game. It's $4.99 with no discount. And the first game from that developer. I never really got a response as far as to why the sales for the Fallout 76 Country Road cover will be donated to charity. I believe it's going to Habitat for Humanity. Like, it seems like they're just doing it for good PR. Doesn't seem like anybody really complained or demanded it. And I don't fully see the connection. There's a game on Steam called Aliens Invaded Our Planet. And it's like a half shootout in the West, fast-paced a horde shooter with aliens attacking the western area than others. It almost looks good enough to recommend, but it's not quite there. It's 25% off for $3.74. Feels like it's too much of an asset flip. It feels like you're going to not have a ton of time. I just scrolled down to see that the first review says the game's a mess and should be in early access. The developer who made this game also made the game Morphine, which was kind of a mess of a game too, but got some popularity, so it's rated 76% positive in the last 30 days. But this developer is certainly not improving his level of quality. Next game we have on Steam is Gambit Heart. We're almost done here, so I don't want to start another game. Gambit Heart is a top-down RPG with cute, like, cartoony, low polygon graphics, but I'm not sure it has anything here that is worth it. It's early access, 15% off for $8.49, and it is from a developer who's made more positive games than anything else, but I'm still not seeing anything in Gambit Heart that makes it look like it's worth playing. Minecraft in particular is one of the games that have sucked all of the air out of blocky, low polygon RPG survival games. Gamasutra has an article, Behind the Motion Capture Kiss of The Last of Us Part 2. I think there's some definite weirdness here. There's a picture showing two girls in motion capture suits, not actually kissing, but dancing and doing the scenes from right before them. There's some weirdness there because we know from the Screen Actors Guild strike, or the Voice Actors Guild strike, that a lot of voice actors are hired to do voice acting and then just forced into a motion capture suit. So there's a danger here of nobody clearing a kiss between two actors who may very well not want to kiss each other on multiple times, multiple takes, in the middle of being in motion capture suits, like rigs. So I'm not saying that's what happened here. Maybe everybody had been well informed and prepared and signed on for it. One would hope that was the case, but it certainly opens a door to potentially walking and thinking you're doing one job and then being told to do another job, which is a very big issue, at least in the United States, of jobs changing their job descriptions on the fly. It's like you'll just do anything and everything we'll tell you to do, regardless of how you feel about it. Gamasutra has this editorial roundtable, How does Ubisoft's hit record partnership impact devs? I don't think I read it, but there's like 5 or 6 people that come back and say something. I don't know if they're saying it impacts us well or bad, but I imagine in the long run it opens the door to devs losing work, and they don't want to lose work. I don't think they can afford that without job security first. If video game developers were in a union and they were guaranteed tenure and they couldn't be fired without cause, then sure, having people lighten their loads is a good move. But right now, in the United States particularly, video game developers don't have any job security, so as soon as the work dries up, they're made redundant and laid off. We have a game on Steam called the Absolute VR Experiences. It looks like an assortment of mediocre VR things. It's 15% off for $8.49. Seems like they're mostly just walking simulators through several different environments, like experimental games merged together to sell as one game. And I believe we're at the Humble Bundle. So, is there a new Humble Bundle as far as games. No, the Daedalic bundle is about to end, and there definitely were some games on there. Well, I do own some of them certainly I don't, and it would have been nice to get like Silence, or I think Deponia Doomsday I don't have, or I may not have Deponia the Complete Collection. So if people wanted to buy that Humble Bundle and direct message me those codes, I certainly would appreciate that. Let's see, let's check out my Twitch. That's one thing I wanted to start doing, to just make sure that my auto uploading of footage to Twitch is working just fine. It doesn't seem like anything's changing there. I've also almost certainly screwed up in announcing doing a calendar. It doesn't seem like that is going to happen at this point. I'm going to have to come back to the drawing board. The Taverns of Time on Hearthstone end July 3rd. I have a special tab open for that, just to tell me that. And the weird thing is, Twitter right now is saying there's only been 4 new tweets. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. So I've resolved now to not sit and I have been sitting probably for 5 minutes just talking and wrapping up, covering the news. But I've resolved not to go through my Twitter feed right at the end of a stream. I'll probably continue looking at the Twitter feed at the beginning before streams, which will make streams start a little bit later, but that's not a big deal, I don't think. So we're good to go. That's going to be it for this stream. It worked pretty good, like, despite batteries dying in my mouse and having to go to the bathroom. That worked pretty good, and I'm going to wrap up. And fingers crossed I can start playing Black Mirror 2, and hopefully Black Mirror 2 is a bit more logical and quicker experience than Black Mirror 1. That's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe. When you subscribe, click the notification bell just for kicks. Comment and watch every second of my videos, because all of that supposedly helps my channel. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites like Twitter, Tumblr, Google+, Steam, or Battle.net, all of those links are down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, friend me on Steam and gift me a game. Steam Summer Sale is about to happen. You can gift me a game during there for cheap. Also, you could gift me a gift card if you don't want to make a choice. And since every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when I stream is heavily focused around putting things on the wish list, the wish list is there in case you don't want to pick a game, or that you don't have a specific game you want me to cover. That's it for the stream. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.